the meeting to order. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, at this time, I will ask for a motion to recess from the regular board meeting until the conclusion of the district-wide safety plan and code of conduct public hearing.
I'll move that.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, so at this time, we will open the public hearing. Do you need a motion to open it? No, just recess. Okay, and I will turn it over to Dr. McDonald.
All right, the first item, we have code of conduct, and I'm going to introduce Mr. Loomis and Mr. Hoover. I'm not sure which one of you are taking the lead on this evening.
Hi, guys. I don't mind starting. Adam, you can fill in whatever gaps I miss. So with the code of conduct, that is going to remain the same. There are additions. So the additions you're going to see, I believe you have a copy of it with the highlighted changes. Anytime there's anything in the code of conduct that talks about discrimination based on perceived race, now after perceived race, there are very specific things listed for hairstyles. I believe the exact language is including traits historically associated with race, such as hair texture and protective hairstyles like braids, locks, and twists. And then that's the one addition, and it is in there multiple times throughout the code of conduct. I think it's 15 times it's added. That's the only change that we have. And it's like I said, it's really an addition. So.
The second plan we have for the public hearing is the district-wide safety plan. Rick?
There actually are no changes to the plan at all. We did make a large addition back in March. I believe it was March where we added the entire pandemic disaster plan to it. Other than that, the only changes are the names of who we actually replaced with the athletic director, the Townsend Elementary School principal, and the Board of Education representative. Thank you, Arnie. Hope we had a good year.
Yeah, so we have some TBDs on the plan until we replace some of those positions.
And that's it.
Okay.
Anybody have any questions? All right, so public comment can be made on either one of these plans for 30 days. And they may do so by contacting the BOE at waltoncsd.org or by calling 607-865-4116, extension 6130. And again, this public comment session will be open for 30 days. All right, so I need a motion to return to regular session. I'll move it. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right. First up, we have the approval of the June 1st minutes. If there are no questions or concerns on it, we have a motion to accept them as submitted.
I'll make it.
Second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And next we have the minutes of June 8th. If there are no questions or concerns, we have a motion to approve them as submitted. I'll make it. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Approval of the CPSC recommendations. If there are no concerns, we will approve them as submitted. Otherwise, if there are, we will take that into executive session.
I'll move those.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right, we are up to public comment for student recognition. We have two special guests with us And I will turn it over to Mr. Loomis first.
Hello again. We do have two very special students with us tonight. We have Emma Harvey, our valedictorian, and we have Celestine Mingle, our salutatorian. Both of these students have a very high reputation at Walton. And if you have been paying attention to the athletic awards and the music awards, you have a really good idea of how decorated both of them are. And they are both scheduled to speak at graduation. And I've been looking through their speeches, and I'm very excited to hear them on Saturday the 26th. But I believe tonight is a time where we'll let them talk about a little bit of their experiences at Walton and their plans for the future. So why don't we start with Celestine Mingle, our salutatorian, and she can go first.
Okay. Hi, everybody. So I have attended Walton Central School since the 7th grade, and starting in 8th grade is, I suppose, when I started high school, basically with the advanced classes that both Emma and I were in. And having that opportunity with advanced classes, I think, got me onto a track to really care about my studies, I would say, and that was a wonderful opportunity for me. I've really enjoyed all of my years here in high school in particular. Mostly my involvement in clubs and sports, I believe, are like my fondest memories. In particular, speech and debate, our speech and debate club holds a special place in my heart. I have adored that program, and I think it has been very beneficial to me. The skills that it has given me, even as a club, I know will be very beneficial after high school, through college, and in the rest of my life. So I loved that club. And as was mentioned, athletics, I've been a member of the varsity girls soccer team since freshman year, and that has been a wonderful experience. Bridged me into some leadership opportunities, and also, it's always a pleasure just to be a member of a team type community. And I believe our school has had a wonderful sports program. I've been able to have some really amazing coaches, Mrs. Gates, who isn't still a coach here, but I'm so glad I had her during her time, and Mrs. Gabriel, as well as Mrs. Labarge. They've all inspired a lot of great wisdom, I'd say, in all of our girls. But I think those were two great experiences for me. And of course, academics, I've had so many classes which I've loved. Of course, as you get into upper grades, you're able to take some classes which you begin to really care about. Our AP classes have been wonderful for me. I loved AP Lit, Literature and Composition, and I'm so glad that we're offered these classes. I also took AP US History, which was phenomenal as well. But we have, I would say, some really amazing teachers. Of course, I don't have anywhere else to compare it to, but I've loved being in a small school community, having really good bonds with my teachers and my mentors, if it's sports teams or, clubs. And some of my favorite teachers, I believe Miss Snary is an incredible teacher. She transformed my world for math. Math was never my thing. She's amazing. She's wonderful. And Mrs. Albrecht, who has committed a lot of time here at this school, is a wonderful teacher. And I think all of our teachers really care about our students and our lives. And it's really wonderful to see. And I think, personally speaking, I can really feel the effect of that. So yeah, I think overall it's been a wonderful journey, and I really am appreciative, and I thank you all for everything that has, gone on behind the scenes to making my high school journey and memories happen, because I know so much goes on that I have no idea about. So thank you for that. I'm really grateful for all of the opportunities that have been provided to me through Walton Central School, and the wonderful people who make it happen. Really, truly adore my teachers. And yeah, I'm very excited for where I can go from here, from the great starting off point that I was granted. So thank you, everybody. And that's all for now.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Nice job, Sally. So Emma, I think you're up next.
Okay, Sally said everything so well, but I definitely agree with everything that she said. I've obviously grown up here my whole life, but I've just loved everything about Walton and all of the friendships that I've formed. And we have so many great teachers in this school, like from elementary school all the way to high school. I've loved every single teacher that I've had, specifically like Miss Neri. I agree, she's such a great math teacher, and Mrs. Rosa and Miss Dieter and Miss Albrecht, but all of them, they're so good. I also am on the soccer team with Sally, and I've loved that. Soccer's been such a fun thing. And definitely shout out to those three coaches. Like that Sally mentioned, they've made such a big difference in my life, and really, I've loved all of that. And I agree, like with what Sally said, definitely Walton has laid a foundation for whatever I want in the future. In the fall, I'll be attending Syracuse to major in marketing and broadcast and digital journalism. So I'm super excited about that, and don't think it would have been possible without kind of just feeling like I have the choice to do what I want to do because high school set me up for it. So super grateful for that. And I am also, thank you again to everyone here today. I know that like in general, just running a school I'm sure is a lot, but I know like this past year has had so many different hardships and so many different things to like figure out. And in the last just like specifically 2 weeks, like the end of senior year, like I feel like we've kind of gotten like everything that we wanted, and it's been so much fun. I left the school bawling my eyes out today. So definitely, I saw Mr. Loomis, he watched it. But it was a lot of fun, and I definitely wouldn't trade anything in high school because I loved it. So thank you to everyone who's made it all possible, especially my parents too. I didn't talk about them, and Liz, love them.
Well, congratulations.
Congratulations, Emma.
Well deserved. Your dedication to your education obviously paid off for the two of you, and there's no doubt in our minds that you're going to be very successful at college and in the future. And I feel like I should be looking this way because you're up on our screen there, but the camera's over here, so it's a little awkward. This whole year has been a little awkward, and we would much rather have celebrated this with you in person, but hopefully this will be coming to an end of the pandemic. But not only were you very successful with your education, and congratulations to your parents as well, but you did this in one of the hardest years, I think, with the pandemic. So you have a lot to talk about in the future. So congratulations to the two of you. Well deserved.
I did tell both of the girls that after they spoke tonight, they would be able to take off and enjoy some time with their families. So thank you, Emma, and thank you, Celestine, for joining us. And unless anyone else has any other questions, I'll say that they can take off and have a good night.
Yes.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
See you.
Very nice. Great girls. Yes.
Terrific.
All right. And as with the public hearing for the regular meeting, once again, if someone would like to make public comment, they may do so by contacting the BOE at waltoncsd.org or by calling 607-865-4116, extension 6130. All right, we are up to number 5, discussion items. And we are going to receive a graduation update.
So as much as I'd like to give the hat off the press, great news, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to steal from Mr. Loomis's thunder. So I'm going to turn it right over to Mr. Loomis. And we've got some really cool updates as we speak. Mr. Loomis.
Thank you. Yes, we do have some exciting updates that we received. It was at some point today. By the time Dr. McDonald and I connected, it was towards the afternoon. But our gathering limits for graduation have been suspended. We don't have to follow those gathering limits. Prior to today, we were under two different sets of guidance for inside versus outside. We are planning first to have our ceremony outside on the football field, unless weather forces us inside. And without those gathering restrictions, it's nice to have that flexibility. So that is really huge news for us. It's nice to see that flexibility extended down into the schools. And so we're planning on a typical ceremony, something that you'd see any other year. We might, if we're inside, we might have to arrange some seating a bit differently, but we're excited to be able to offer a traditional ceremony for our students. One addition that we're having to the ceremony this year is in the class of 2021, we have 4 graduates who are entering armed forces after they graduate. And I think that, it's important to recognize those students. So the plans that I'm finalizing are having a recruiting officer or somebody associated with that branch of the military that these students are going into. They're going to help Mrs. Williams present these students with their diploma. And when they come up, we're going to just say a special note acknowledging their decision and acknowledging the choices that they've made to enter the armed forces. We're also going to acknowledge the person that they have there and the significance of them. And I think it's going to be a really nice way to honor these 4 students that we have entering in the military. And I mean, that's really it. And it's nice to have our goal set on a very traditional ceremony. Dr. McDonald, did I leave anything out there?
No, I think you covered it. We've said from the beginning, if you remember, since July, that we are going to do everything possible to give the kids and families a sense of normalcy, and it's come to fruition. And today was wonderful news. It'll also affect the 5th grade ceremony because that was going to be limited, and now Mrs. Hooper doesn't have to worry about limiting that ceremony indoors as well. So it's just perfect timing.
The same thing with UPK.
Yep, same thing with UPK.
Nice.
We just get to have those end of the year celebrations normal. Anybody who wants to come to them, come to them.
And nice job adding that military thing. That's a great idea. And let's see how that goes. I think that's really important and neat. So whoever had the handwork, if that was Mr. Loomis, good job. I think that's great. Thank you.
Yes. And
You're welcome. I think it was Dr. McDonald and I kind of spitballing at one point, and we just kind of settled on it. And actually, I think it may have started from one parent requesting that their son gets honored. And then it just kind of branched from there into what we're planning to do now.
Great idea.
Yep,
Yes.
and we're going to hold it specifically to the recruiting officers, so it stays very clean. It's board members give the awarded diplomas.
Right.
So they're going to come and assist, be standing next to you. You're still going to award. But outside of the recruiting officers, it won't go any further than that. We want to make sure that we keep the sanctity of our ceremony as it is.
And actually, this kind of falls in place. I have been doing some research along with the Historical Society and discovering years ago how our young men were drafted into the military, and now this is a personal choice. And to me, that's a huge difference, because now that everything that's going on into the world today, and they're still choosing to go into branch of the service, and they should be honored for that.
Absolutely.
So very nice. And now one question, in the past, we've actually, we're hoping for beautiful weather, if it is a little too hot, are we opening up the auditorium, or is that not going to be open?
I'll jump in.
I know that has been discussed as, okay.
Oh, I think it was a delay.
We
Did
don't
somebody-
have in the past, so I haven't spoken to Mr. Loomis about it, but as in any other year, we'll probably set that up.
Okay. So if grandparents or anybody that just can't, doesn't want to sit out there in the heat.
Yeah, well, hopefully 10 a.m. we'll get lucky. It'll be a
Let's hope
beautiful
so.
day, a beautiful morning.
Beautiful sun.
Back when we had it at 2 o'clock in the afternoon,
Yeah.
well, those were some rough graduations. You must have earlier morning, right? The afternoon?
Nice. All right. So Facilities Committee, they met on June 7th, and they have quite an extensive report. Who was like the honors?
Well, I'll start and we'll just add, right? So we looked at facilities. There were some federal dollars that were allocated to potential new upgrades within the facilities. We thought that we would look at our overall scope of our capital project now, which has been refined. And there are some areas that we may need to pull out of that scope that we could possibly fund with new dollars coming in to make sure that what we went out with the community is whole and stays whole, and it stays within the dollar range of what we set out to accomplish. So
Right.
some of that's going back and forth, and I think some of that was the COVID relief money, one-time type expenditures to be able to fill in those gaps. But we're on track. BCA as well as our sub-consultants are on track to begin work this summer. And they've laid out a very, I think later in the agenda, you'll see that there's a timeframes that are laid out for construction purposes, phase 1 and 2. And then we looked at long-term phasing additional projects as needed in the district, and we did it based on safety. So if there's asbestos, for example, in certain areas, we targeted that first. Health and safety was our #1 priority. And then we looked at more things that were structural deficiencies to kind of prioritize our list that was done back in 2016. So the last building inventory, we've continued to work off that inventory sheet. And we just reprioritized based on health and safety of our students and staff. And then kind of did the needs first and then wants later.
I think you touched on all those main topics. I guess the only other thing that we're also late in that discussion was to do another facilities inspections here in the near future, just so that we can keep this, try to stay on top of what we have.
For the 5-year plan.
Right, the 5-year plans are going ahead. And like, just to reiterate one of the things that Graydon touched on, one of the things that felt the committee has taken a very tight grip on was when we come out to the public with this scope of what we're looking to do. That has not been kicked around and changed much. We've taken a very hard stance on keeping the dollars in place of where we said they were, in the scope and in place of where we said they were. So I mean, everything is rolling. So far, so good. I think we seem to be on track with it. Nothing except for that scope is really in stone. We are exploring different things for this relief money and things like that. There'll be more coming out, but we're getting far too far ahead of the horse. Start saying, in details. But
The only thing I left off is we do have our new building inventory that has to be done in 2022, according to SED. That's our next round of total facilities to look over and reprioritize, and then the money allocated or estimated based on that time. For that, we want to use that as a basis for our new RFQ or RFP for professional services, so that we're on that same time frame of re-upping and putting out proposals to get out to all the consultants out in the area on a regular 5-year basis. We'd like to continue that. We've done that now regularly. So we want to use that 5-year facilities plan as the basis of what the RFPs are written under to bring to the board to score those based on their responses to that, how they would go about that facilities upgrades and conditions report. So that's going to be by 2022. So we really need to be working on that this year. So that, no real breaks coming up between construction and that. We're going to be keeping going forward.
it's been busy. It looks like it's going to stay busy.
Well, thank you to
Really
the
good.
Facilities Committee, because I know it's a very time consuming, and each of you have done a wonderful job with keeping up and informing the rest of us of what's going on. And I know for one, I appreciate your time involved in that.
One thing to throw on top of that too is I got to give a lot of credit to our administrative staff.
Absolutely.
Our admin team has been key in being able to get where we've been with this and keeping track of that. Just the entire group is working, I think, well.
Very well.
Yeah, and Meg's facilitator role, leader, she's taken kind of lead on this project. It's been phenomenal, attention to detail. One of the things that will come out linked to the capital project per the board's request and direction is a communication will go out at the end of the month to all homes regarding what is happening this summer.
Oh, nice.
So we are working that up as we talked about that months ago, I believe, the right facilities. So that is being worked out. CNS will help with that documentation. PJ and I will put that together and it'll be out probably the last week of this month. So we'll have that out there for people.
Yeah, because I mean, we've been talking about this for quite some time now, and now that we'll actually start seeing the construction phase of it, it's
The
exciting.
The 28th, you're gonna see tractor trailers coming in here like June 28th, they're gonna be coming in. So that's what we're being.
Very nice.
And Rhonda, I sit on that committee, but have learned a lot. I mean, I'm saying a lot on there, but it's very informative and I've learned a lot as I'll say it myself, somebody who knew nothing and what it entailed to be in they have it down to a science. I finally learned, you know, that the different buildings and the different stuff, it's just more than sitting there talking about that. So I think that that's been pretty neat for me, although I don't participate much. They always ask for my feedback, but I've learned a lot of the different parts of the building and how some of the parts have been here since 1982 and stuff like that. So it's been really cool for me anyway.
Good.
The team is worth mentioning again as our admin, not just our admin team, having CNS working on the board's behalf, that selection that we made there has been really, really a confidence booster in everybody.
Yep.
You know, having BCA do the original work, but having somebody that we can bounce ideas off as a separate architect as well, that's overseeing the construction and helping out, that's been a godsend. And you know, Meg does an excellent job of keeping us all very well informed and very proactive. You know, when we go to meetings, we already know what we have to answer, what questions have to be answered,
Yep.
and what next questions have to be asked. It's phenomenal.
She's
It's a
on top of
great team.
things.
And for a construction, if it's any indication of how the capital project's going to go, our community's going to be very happy.
And they'll know step by step, because like I said, I don't know, but the way that they have it informed and to keep the public and all of our people informed of what's going on step by step, they'll know, which I think is great.
Yeah.
We had another meeting today. We have a monthly big meeting, full group that CNS facilitates, and it's excellent. It really is. Like, we don't have any questions coming out of, they send us minutes within 24 hours. It's been wonderful. That leads into the next actual item that we had on there. One of the things that we talked about with that CNS is willing to do is to stay on kind of as our appointed construction manager and to be a part of facilities and be a part of development of ongoing projects and planning without an annual fee. Just knowing that they're our standing construction manager, and that they'll get us to a project and then they'll be considered as a project manager for that next project. So I'll be bringing them forward for reorg to consider having them be listed as our district construction manager. That way they have a standing. It's not just project related. So just to bring that forward.
Committees. You'll be sending out a survey tomorrow?
Yep, well, I was a survey coming out. We talked about kind of doing a clean assessment, and rather than sitting around the table trying to figure out who's interested, who has strong interest, I'm going to send out a quick survey that's going to have a rating of 1 to 4, I believe. We talked about 1 being the strongest level of interest. You know, your number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4 for every committee, and then we'll send the results out, and then to help the board decide kind of where everybody will fall for the upcoming year, just to assist with that. So
we should get those back as quickly as possible. Arnie, you're off the hook on that one.
Be simple.
But yes, if we could get them back as soon as possible, you know, what your request would be.
Since they're going out tomorrow.
yeah, so we'll shoot them out.
I
Corey will
was hoping
send
I
out
didn't
by
miss them,
email.
but I could have.
Yeah, not yet.
Now that things are getting back to normal somewhat. The New York State School Boards Association is once again having their annual conference, October 24th through the 26th. This will be in New York City. I'm kind of trying to get a feeler of what your thoughts are. My opinion, it's still a little too fresh in my mind, and not sure if I want to go to the city, at this point. But what's everybody else's?
Experience it there if anybody else wants to go. If not, going down, because if it's not going to be held virtual, I really think you get a good feeling on a lot. I learned a lot there about so many different topics that are school related but aren't touched every day in school, from drug use to security to, so if they're gonna end up having it, I feel confident they'll do it in the appropriate way if it's not gonna be virtual.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna offer a virtual component. So it'll just be in person, but the issue is that we need to make a decision, because Corey needs to know July 6th, because if she does not book, on that date, chances are we're not getting,
Start July meeting.
July 6th.
Right, the registration
Yeah,
opens on the 16th, so the minute that hits, to get into the hotel.
But it's
So our
not.
meeting-
oh, the 16th, I'm sorry, the 6th. I was
No.
thinking it was this
Okay.
Enough time, I just
Yeah.
need to know.
registration for August 16th, sorry. So we
August.
do have a little bit of time. So,
Okay.
yeah, and then I don't know where the next one was advertised. Was that Rochester or Buffalo?
Oh, I haven't seen it.
Rochester, right?
Yeah.
I'll be, this isn't gonna be politically correct, so I'll apologize up front. All right. So, I honestly never have a desire to cross the Hudson. So, okay.
Looks like I'm going alone, huh?
Just,
Well,
Any
can
other
I-
thoughts?
Can I take a train in, Corey? Not take a school car, right? Kevin does the driving usually, or somebody else does.
I
But
think it's time to expand Kevin's horizons. We send him down. Don't we have
Oh,
to
I've
be
been
in
to
person
the
to
city
vote,
enough,
right?
but-
We have to have a person delegate to vote. Just send.
man,
Oh, we do, yes.
so,
All right, so
Right,
yes,
yeah.
we do have a little bit more time than what I was thinking. I was thinking it was July 6th that we had to register by, but so think that over and decide.
Is it really run a Sunday to Tuesday?
Yes,
Yeah,
they changed
A
the
Sunday to
days this
Tuesday,
year.
huh?
Yes.
which is actually, I think is great, because I was just gonna say, unless like homecoming or something falls in there, but a Sunday to Tuesday might work. I mean,
I think they did that because it's not gonna be so busy, during those days down there, which helps.
Right.
Definitely
With
better
the
than,
parking and,
definitely better than Thursday,
yeah.
Friday, Saturday.
Yeah, that got a little crazy, but, all right, so we do have a little bit more time than I was originally thinking, so. Let us know and we'll discuss it on the 6th. And then the other alternative, or we can, in addition, possibly a retreat in the fall, of a topic, so.
Right, we could do an off-site retreat. We could use, we've got a couple new firms working with us. We've got labor relations with MoRec. We've got, some other things going on that we can work on. Come up with topics of interest, and we can develop it, find an off-site in Binghamton, and do a dinner and do a little conference. So there's some options there.
All right. We have to have a special meeting next week if possible to award the capital outlay bids. Or to award the capital outlay bids, yep. Possible dates, Monday, the 21st, Tuesday, the 22nd, Thursday, the 24th. Are there dates that don't work for?
That would be done by Zoom also.
Oh, yes,
That
I'm
would
sorry,
be
a Zoom
Yeah.
meeting.
shorter.
It'll be very brief.
I would say the beginning of the week would probably be better, because you're away, the farther away from graduation weekend, the better.
Yeah, that's true.
So if, and especially if it's by Zoom,
We've got you pre-K Monday night, starts at 6, so it's if we do it that night, if we went 6:30, 6 to 7, but 6:30 would work on the Monday. Or later.
Monday would work best for me. Get to that point.
Okay.
We're thinking a half hour less, right?
10 minutes or
Yeah.
less.
Would have before that work, 5:30?
Anything.
Does that work with your schedule? Or anybody else's? Because I think 5:30 in and out, done.
We just need quorum,
5:30?
5:30 on the 21st.
I'm good with that.
5:30.
5:30, Monday, the 21st.
Okay.
All
And
good?
We'll put, just in case, with some of these openings that we've got floating out there, we'll keep it. It'll be awarding of the bid, but we'll also keep it open for any quick personnel, just so we're legal. In case
Okay.
we have a personnel appointment to make that night for timing. We've got some out there. Okay? That's all right that way.
Okay, thank
All
you.
right. Sounds good. Okay, are there any correspondence?
No, we do not have anything.
All right. And are there any additions to the agenda?
No.
So the consent agenda, we have the financial reports, the transfer of funds. We have a new scholarship, to establish a scholarship for the DTC, Delhi Telephone Company Scholarship. This will be given to a graduating senior attending college in the fall of 2021, a one-time award of $250. To accept an MOU retiree employment for Donna Beers, to certify the class of 2021, to declare surplus, approve wrestling merger and establish modified level for wrestling, approve a per diem part-time typist for Pamela Brzee, approve 10 summer days for Leanne Otto, approve the 21-22 summer stipends, and personnel resignations and retirement. Retirement for Kathy Schofield, and resignations for Carl McGibbon, Wendy Miller, and Linda Belmont. Unpaid leave of absence for Megan Loomis and Wendy Miller. And emergency appointment for Carrie Hart, substitute school monitor. And the appointments for the summer part-time food service helpers, and part-time substitute food service helper, summertime part-time custodians, high school summer tutors, middle school summer tutors and mentors. And then the 5-6 grade coding on-site supervisor aide, Crush Connects, and creative art programs. And I believe that is all of them. Are there any questions on the consent agenda? If not, do we have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
I'll move it.
Second,
I'll second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right, and then we have, tell you this here. Number 9, new business, accept donations. We'll need a motion to accept the following donations: $500 from Mr. Clarence Lepar to the Clarence Annual Scholarship for Advanced Professional Education.
That should say Clarence Lepar.
Oh, Lepar, yes. I'm reading it just how I said it. $650 from Music on the Delaware, board members to the class of 2021. And donations made to the class of 2022 that was put towards the prom cost, $1,500 from TAs, $100 from Gary and Jacqueline Brooks, $100 from Jennifer DiNardo, $300 from Delaware Valley Hospital Incorporated, and $100 from Mary Palmer. Do we have a motion to accept those gracious donations?
Move it.
Second,
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next, we have the bus lease bid award. This is for a 5-year lease on 3 65-passenger buses for the cost of $61,236. Are there any questions or concerns on that?
One quick one, is there a mailing list these things go out onto? Or is this just a legal page posting type of thing?
It does go out in a legal.
Right, it goes
Right.
out in legal. I'm not sure specifically whether this was sent. There's 2 or 3 companies that do leases. So, and I know that they typically are on a list, or especially through the BOCES cooperative purchasing. I don't know specifically with this one. I think, is that where
Back when
you're heading, whether or not we're getting a competition?
Yes.
When we had done this, when we went out to inquire about bus leasing, there was 2 companies that had come forward. Leonard's was one of them, and oh
I
gosh,
forget the name.
Um,
There's 2 others that do it. One that's well known. I know there's a couple districts in our region that use it.
my husband's gonna kill me. Huh? Well, they carry Bluebirds, but the other company, the buses, number one, there was a problem where they're flat nose buses, and there was a problem with them possibly fitting into our old school bus garage. And then there was also a parts type thing where we had parts for one type of bus and not for this other brand of bus.
So we bid
So-
the bus specifically. I'm assuming,
Right, we put the specs on exactly what we desire.
which we're used to working on, that makes sense. So I'm just,
So that's how it started way back when we first got into the leasing. All right, if there's no other questions, do we have a motion to accept the bus lease bid award?
A lot of
Say that 3 times fast.
I'll make it.
Second,
Alright.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Right, and then we have the approval of the 21-22 stipends. Are there any questions or concerns on the stipends?
How do you arrive at the amount for the stipends? Is it a percentage of their contractual salary or what?
It depends on the position, a number of times, especially in the unit that it falls under. So for instance, this year there was a creation of a new advisor position. So they go through a process of what are the tasks, what's the amount of time, what's the and then they do a comparable to what other advisory or what other stipend positions compare to that's already in existence. So that just one example. With others, a lot of times we may seek input from the region. If it's a new out of unit type of a position, to find out where others lie, such as athletic director or coordinator or things of that nature. So it really depends. Did I answer your question? Somewhat.
So the union has input on this, or it's
If
in the
it's
contractual.
depending, yes. If it's in their unit, we will work with them. That way you can keep, because what you don't want to have is a situation where you bring in a new stipend position that is the workload and is similar to another one, but the compensation is extremely low or extremely high. And then you get into situations of equity and all that kind of issues. So we work together with them to develop them.
May I
If
also
it's in the
add
unit.
that a lot of these have carried over for several years already? It's
Correct.
set amounts.
In fact, there's none of them here that are new. Except for Title IX we created earlier this year, the Title I coordinator.
That was brought back. It was a stipend
Correct.
position, then it went away.
Right, it was, and that was one of the conversations that we had a while back is, possibly getting rid of the stipends, but putting it into the newer positions as someone comes in. This is part of their, I just think that makes it cleaner as well, but.
Do you
I make a
have a
motion
time?
for that.
I'm sorry, I have a question. or whoever, do you have a time where you reevaluate and decide whether you're gonna bring back some of the positions for stipends or just eliminate the positions? You do that on a
Yep.
yearly basis or whatever?
At any time if there's a change, whether it be person, in fact, we're doing it with all positions. Anytime there's a vacancy, we're doing an assessment and analysis as part of the hiring procedures for all positions. Stipend is not any different. If we don't have a need for it, or if there's a vacancy, we take a look at it in both cases.
Is that a committee? Is that administration that does that?
Administration, taking any input that's needed from department head or unit.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Okay, follow up with, how do you arrive at the summer days you allow? Well, that's 10 days extra, 20 days extra. Where is it?
Oh, you mean like for the guidance counselors, 10 plus in that type of situation? Those have been
School
long,
nurses.
long-standing positions, and it's based off of what we feel the workload need is. So for instance, a school counselor, 20 days to get the school year created. And a lot of years, some years, a lot of years, we've actually had to go above that, depending on the situation that's going on, change in computer program, database program, or something of that nature in any given year, or a significant change in a master schedule or something of that nature. So nurses, it's been their workload as far as what they need to do to be prepared for the next year. And those can be reassessed. There's times they'll come and request more. There's times that we've determined administratively from observation that they don't necessarily need as many days as they have, and we'll question it and possibly dial it back. But those are longstanding. So we're talking CSE, school counselor, nurses, and dean of students. And those are, the dean of students is an up to, not a set. Depends on what the need is for the year. I don't think we have anybody else who has summer days. I think it's of those types. Yep.
Okay. Do we have motion?
Yep, I make motion.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, the approval of the 21-22 contracts for the non-represented employees.
I make that motion.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next, we have the approval of the school attorney services agreement with Hogan, Sarzinski, Lynch, DeWin, and Gregory for the term of July 1, 2021. And this is a renewable annually up to June 30, 2026. Are there any questions on that? If not, do we have a motion to accept that service agreement? Seconded?
Second.
Did you get that? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right, we're personal appointment. We have a personal appointment for administrative aide, Wendy Miller. And that is at a $32,000 per annual. Do we have a, oh, and sorry, I almost skipped it. Casey Aikens, a school counselor, $54,796 per year. Do we have a motion to accept those appointments?
I'll move it.
Second,
I'll second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And next we have a motion for an increase in rate of the automobile mechanic / bus driver position of $5,464 effective July 1, 2021. Do we have a motion to accept that increase?
I'll make it.
Second,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right. Glad they hung on. We are up to 10-year appointment. We have 2 employees that are going to be honored this evening, and I will turn this over to Adam.
Good evening. Can you hear me? So it's my pleasure to introduce Mrs. Asia Gressler. She started with us as an aide first in the elementary school, and then I first worked with Asia as a teacher, and she was working with one of the students I was teaching in sixth grade. She does an excellent job developing relationships with the kids, and that's really key in any position, but especially a position that like a special education where you're working with kids who might not necessarily view academics as something they can be successful in, and she does an excellent job, working with those students to make them feel like they can be successful and feel cared about. And I'm very excited to recommend Mrs. Asia Gressler for tenure.
Okay. Thank you. And then we have Amanda to introduce.
I'm excited to recommend Lisa Reinhardt for tenure. Most of you might know this, but some might not know this. Lisa worked for us years and years ago, long time ago, and then left and came back to the area. And we were absolutely thrilled when she put back in to join us again, because she was phenomenal then and she's phenomenal now. Lisa is very skilled and open-hearted. She develops, I would say, life-changing relationships with kids in a mentor type relationship. So it's not just your everyday special ed teacher when a child has Mrs. Reinhardt. So I appreciate that about her so very much. The kids respect her so much because of that as well. And she's absolutely amazing. I can't say enough about instructionally and the impact that she has in our building and with our students and with our staff. She's a tremendous resource. And I am very excited and happy to recommend Lisa.
Wonderful. Okay, I will call for a vote for approval of tenure appointment for Asia Gressler for special education and Lisa Reinhardt for special education. Do we have a motion to approve those tenure appointments? Second?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Thank you.
This is normally when we would pause and have cake and celebrate with you. And unfortunately, here we are again. So we apologize for that. Dr. McDonald will be handing out certificates to the two of you, but we wish that you were here in person to celebrate. But congratulations.
Thank you.
Right. And we are up to administrative remarks. So you don't have to stay. We understand that you probably have things to do. We thank you for staying for the whole meeting, just about though. We got to you. But thank you very much for attending. All right, administrative remarks. Are there any questions or concerns? I can say one thing, you have all been very busy. Wrapping up the school year and everything that's going on, especially with you, Mr. Hoover, all the changes that, possibly will be taking effect for next year. It looks pretty exciting to bring back some of the electives. That sounds good. Are there any other questions? No?
I got a couple
All right.
highlights.
Yep.
So if you'll notice, so a few new things that may have caught your eye that we've talked about, we've kind of alluded to, and some of the federal monies and the learning loss and engagement, we were working to provide some summer programming that we typically have not done. And the reports have talked about that. So if you, for instance, the summer SEL programming, Crush Connects in the elementary high school, that's going to be an interesting endeavor. Paralleling some of the AVP activities, but really focused on engaging kids and that continued relationship building. So that's exciting. And we've got coding, 5th and 6th grade. We got a handful of students that will be working on computer coding for the first time. And a number of other things. We have some increased professional development going on this summer. Some is a continuation. If you remember, Letters has a literacy program. Letters 2 is going on this summer. So we still have that moving forward. We have some CKLA curriculum work going on to extend the English curriculum that was first introduced last summer as a second year of that initiative. And we have the SEL curriculum development, K through 12, that Mrs. Hoover is going to help facilitate as an administrator with the team. So we'll meet, that was our key links goal. The first links goal was survival and effectively surviving the pandemic. The second links goal was SEL curriculum. So we're on track to meet those two goals. And if you'll notice in Amanda's report, we did put in for sensory equipment for a sensory comm room for a grant, and we did get that grant.
Oh, you
So we
did.
have a matching grant. So we're using federal funding to match the other side of it, and we'll be putting in a $10,000 sensory comm room for the first time at Townsend. And Amanda, if you want to elaborate on that just a little bit, I know the staff is pretty excited about that. I know you are as well. If you can find the mute button.
Yeah, it was a dream of mine. And the OTPT counselors, a dream of theirs too. So Alina Buss, our occupational therapist, when we knew we were applying for this grant, I said, there's a company that will actually build the room with you, and then they'll give you a quote, and then they'll ship all the pieces and support the implementation. So I said, we're doing this grant, just do it and go crazy like it would be your dream on what we could do. So part of it, it's really a trauma-informed best practice. So if, especially, like kindergarten kids, when they come in and they're still learning school or they're learning to cope with emotions, a lot of times we need it more for the K-2 kiddos, where it's instead of being sent to the office because they can't regulate for a reason, or we know there's a traumatic event that's happened in their lives. There's so many different reasons why we would use it. They would be brought to the room by either the social worker or the counselor or school psychologist principal. And I let staff know that we really need to make sure we have procedures in place so that there's a time limit, and then there's a processing piece so that the kids are understanding why they're there, what they're learning, and and coping strategies. So that's one aspect of the room, and it's kind of like a half and half situation. The other half is a room for sensory. So like swing, so kids can swing and move. For those of you, I think most of you have seen the sensory path down here at Townsend. It's just a great way to get movement, jumping on the trampoline. So there are kids that actually have, like on IEPs, for example, it's called a sensory diet, where because they have such a need for movement, or even some kids have a need for spinning. There's lots of different things, especially nowadays as kids are seeking movement a lot more than they ever used to. So it's a great space, either if it's on a student's IEP, but it's for every child to be able to use. We're excited about it.
My question is, if we have to remove a student for a specific reason and they need it, who monitors them while they're in there?
The counselor, so it would be the counselor, school psychologist, principal, or sometimes even the nurse, depending. Sometimes the nurse has a really good relationship with a kid where we'll tag out and she'll go in, depending on the scenario.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. We have a crisis team over here. So if there is a crisis, we have a team that's called to respond if something happens, and they're usually the ones that would do it.
Thank you.
We've had OT, PT rooms that have had some equipment in it, some of which may be similar to sensory equipment, various things, but not a room that's really outfitted that set for calming or a sensory room.
I want to say that we actually removed a room
Well,
a
that
few
was
years ago.
Remember, we had a rubber room, so a padded room,
Timeout rooms, yeah.
right, which
Okay.
were removed because of that isolation and that restriction. You put a student in there and close it, and they would work through whatever
Right.
their
What they
emotional
were-
issues
yep.
were. That's been found to be completely contrary to best practice in this area. So
Okay.
that's why they were removed across the state,
Okay.
across the nation, actually, I believe. That was a federal government restriction, if I remember correctly, wasn't it, Amanda?
Yeah, you definitely have to have major, procedures and legal documents in place to do them now, for sure.
Okay.
When
Yeah.
can we expect this room to be completed, since we have the grant?
I wouldn't be surprised if it was done by September because of the quoting that's already been done and all the equipment that's already been looked at.
Well, thank you for pushing that. I think it's a great idea.
Thank you.
One other question for you, the $10,000 for this, does this give us that dream room?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. And you know, you think of things like lava lamps. There's I forget the name of it. It's a place that kids can have parties in Oneonta. I forget the name of it. Maybe Adam can remember.
Interstate estate?
Interstate?
No, it's
like Oliver's
it's on West Street.
Closet or something, or Oliver's room or something like that. It's named after the owner's kid.
Right.
I forget the name of it. Anyway, they have an area that's just like that, a comm room. So it has like comfy chairs and lava lamps, and the lights are turned a little bit lower to not be so stimulating. So we're kind of model it a little bit after something like that.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Noah's World.
Noah's World. Thank you.
Oliver's room, you know, something like that.
We knew we'd get it.
He Googled it. He didn't remember.
I definitely
He
Googled
Googled
it. Definitely Googled it.
So
Well,
I
that's
have
good.
only one remark,
Okay.
and that is that I just want to recognize the fact this is Amanda's last board meeting with us. So just to thank her
Yes,
for
thank
her
you.
leadership and care of the kids. The Century Room was just one example, and something that'll be a lasting legacy as she exits. And I wish her luck.
Yes.
Good luck.
Thank you. And I want to, and I just want to take a second to thank all of you. Your support over the years has been amazing, especially this last year. And the community support, it's amazing how everybody came together to do this, and I appreciate it so much. And I will miss you all very much.
Thank you. And we would like to thank Arnie. This is Arnie's last meeting, I believe.
That's right.
So thank you for serving on the Board of Education with us.
You're gonna turn in Monday night, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Still not completely done.
We'll
might
have
maybe
a
come up with another one.
cardboard cutout.
Yeah.
We can go with another one
Right.
before the.
Yes, so thank you. We appreciate your time. Stay here.
Better fun than not fun enough.
Yeah.
It can only be so much fun.
All right. We do have a need for executive session for the purpose of discussing a matter relating to the employment history of a particular employee. We do not anticipate that there will be action after executive session, so I'll need a motion to go into executive session first. Second? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And then we will make a motion to come out of executive session and adjourn the meeting.
On behalf of Paul, I'll do it.
Okay, second? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. All right.
So is this a reminder, Corey, or was this just for made a financial disclosure? Everybody
That's
gets-
for you.
Okay.